Okay. Because yes, hello.
Hello, Mika.
Yes, how are you doing?
I am good. How are you doing? Good evening to you.
Good evening to you. Hope you're doing well.
Ye- Yes.
Welcome to the late night show, and you're live on airs of Infinite Radio.
Yes, please.
And you first introduce yourself to the listeners and what you do, where you do work, and what you do there.
Okay. Hello, listeners. My name is Esther Nachanzi. I work with Together Life Health Initiative as their programs and project coordinator. And for those of you who might be asking, what is Together Life Health Initiative or Tahi? Hello?
Yes, I'm on. I'm listening.
Okay. I was saying that for those who might ask, what does Tahi do? Tahi is a short form of Together Life Health Initiative, and it's a youth-led and a youth-serving non-profit organization, which is... Hello? I don't know my network.
No,
but I was saying
you're
that,
very clear.
Okay. Okay. Tahi, organizations strive to improve the sexual and reproductive health and rights of young people in Uganda, especially girls and those in the marginalized community. And our organization, maybe to say we aim to, or maybe our goal, we aim to promote gender equality, reduce teenage pregnancy and child marriage, and also to protect young people's rights to make safe and informed decisions related to their sexual and reproductive health.
Okay.
So, that is the brief, which I can say. And we work towards realization of, of our goals through conducting like evidence-based research on SRHR issues, advocating for policy reforms in areas of SRHR, engaging young people. And in this case, we engage young people in all their diversities, young people with disability, young people or teenage mothers in that category within their diversities in, still sexual and reproductive health right discussion. And also we also provide training, healthcare providers to make sure that they deliver these SRHR services to our target group. So our focus is more on bridging the gap between what young people need and the available services that can, meet those needs. So that is the brief which I can give on Tahi.
All right. Cesar, if you were to ask, we have seen that you have held a workshop with people with disabilities. So can you just brief us about it and what it intends to do? How have you made it? Something of sort.
Within this week, under the Envoice project. Envoice project, it's one of the projects we are running. Actually, that project started last year. And that project, its overall goal is to increase participation and representation of young people with disability from Wakiso and Mukono districts in national policy formulation spaces in Uganda. And the objective of the Envoice project, the overall objective is to see young person with disability, gain or have in-depth knowledge on issues when it comes to SRHR services, disability policies, so as for them to speak up and also to be part of this policy formulation, policy formulation and analysis. So when we come back to the activity we had for almost 3-day. That training, it's a disability fellowship training, and it focused, we wanted to equip young people with disability with skills in policy formulation, analysis, still policy analysis, public speaking abilities, and also in-depth knowledge on disability policies, including climate action, as well as offering life skills. And during this fellowship, we intended to make sure that young people with disability gain more knowledge on different kind of issues affecting in the way of policy, advocating for policies, when it comes to issues affecting them in SRHR services, and also generally at the national and the local level. So we had this 3-day residential training the champions or the fellows, and in this case, I mean young people with knowledge in policy advocacy, so that when they go back and they can advocate, they come up with issues and also strategies to make sure that they can represent the communities they are coming in. And under this, we came up with mentors who can guide within this fellowship, this entire 3-day fellowship training, to guide all through these people, because the people we trained, or the young people we trained under, they are going to run what we call the 10-month fellowship in advocacy related areas. And each mentor within these 20 young people we trained will oversee the development of the 5 fellows, so that we ensure the personalized support and growth of each fellows. And participants will also work together to come up with key milestones, including organizing community dialogues and also influencing the creation or review of local policies and bylaws to address, the identified needs. And the fellows will also, at the end of the day, or at the end of the 10-month period, will receive certificates. So initially, that is the entire activities we had. But then when we come back onwards, when I haven't gone, before I go to the 10-month activities or the programs they're going to run, we train these people in advocacy issues, and also to get to know what are some of the issues affecting them, what are some of the issues affecting young people with disability within their community when it comes to accessing sexual and reproductive health services, when it comes to the community, when it comes to the local, is it sub-county level, are there committees, are there spaces within those committees where these young people can be included in or not? So, under this, fellows developed advocacy issues and came up with advocacy strategy in a way how they can they come up with advocacy issues, and in that they pointed out issues like inaccessibility, or inaccessibility when it comes to accessing, places, healthcare facility, buildings. Some buildings have no ramps, some buildings have ramps but they are not standard. Some buildings don't have accessible toilets, and also they also talked about forced abortion and early pregnancy. These are the issues which were raised by our fellows during this training, and these are the issues which were also pointed out in developing a work plan, or when it comes to developing a work plan for them, because they are going to run the 10-month period fellowship within these related areas, or the advocacy issues they have pointed out. What can we do to change inaccessibility? What can we do to change early teenage pregnancy among young persons with disability? What can we do to increase sign language interpreters in, for example, in spaces like schools, in spaces like healthcare facilities? So they also pointed out denial of services to persons with disability, They also pointed out issues like limited information, gaps since the information pinned out when it comes to sexual and reproductive health rights of young people or generally, it is not accessible. It's not put into braille or easy to read for these people to understand. They also talked about SGBV, over sexual and gender-based violence towards persons with disability work environment by their employers. They also talked about the lack of capacity, like, health workers need more, capacity building on how to handle person with disability. There are a lot of advocacy issues which were raised up, and these are the issues which were raised up depending on each one, like each fellow where they were coming from. So the reason why we came up with this fellowship is to empower, since also this Invoice project targets young people with disability. So we wanted to empower these fellows so that they can go back into their community and mobilize in a way like we empowered them with and equipped them with skills and policy, advocacy, public, and also leadership, and also to know what kind of frameworks are there, what kind of policies are there, what kind of, in a way, where should they start when it comes to advocacy, when it comes to getting awareness, when it comes for them to go back into their communities and talk to their fellows about these issues. So we do that to enable them to influence these inclusive and sustainable policies within their communities. So yeah, basically that was the fellowship is all about, and it ended by when we asked the fellows to develop like a strategy or like a work plan depending on each issue. Of course, there were many advocacy issues raised to pin out, like DICA meetings, those DICA meetings, that DHT meetings. DICA meetings happens that most of the time Ministry of Health hosts them. So in our issue, the reason we had this training is that, do they know the DICA meeting? Sorry, have they ever participated in this DICA meeting? When it comes to committees, are they part of the committees at the local, the sub-county level, or they are not, So issues like that. So yeah, they come up with a work plan so that on a way how they can address these issues in a way which for them they may think that this can be done like this. Like we were just guiding, but we gave the priority for them, and also for them to boost their self-esteem, morale, and like the fact that we are working with person with disability, we train them that you also human being, you also have right to health, you have a right to access education, you have a right to access, just like the world called the normal person, because we believe that if there is no barrier, then there is no disability. But if there is a barrier, then it means that there is disability. So how could we make sure that we limit or we remove the barrier in that category? And when I talk about barrier, how can we assure that there are sign language interpreter? How can we ensure that there are accessible bed for young mothers, all mothers with disability? How can we break the barrier to see that each building is accessible? Either they have those open doors, either they have ramps, standard ramps, like the basics. So that's the reason why we had that fellowship training, or the advocacy disability fellowship training. Yes, Mika.
All right.
Back to you.
Thank you very much. I'm actually asking myself, where can I even generate a question, because you have made everything clear, really. From that training, did you guys agree on who is to do what, where are the trainees going to work, maybe to do this and this, the way forward?
The way forward, of course. For now, we after the training, because the training ended today, and the way forward is like we are going to continue with this fellow for the period of 10 months, starting from this month. So maybe it will end around maybe September, around there, for the period of 10 months. Because since I communicated earlier that they developed a work plan, they first pointed out advocacy issue. What are the issues? How can they be worked on? What is the solution? What can we do? What can Tahi do? What can the Ministry of Health do? What can, within different communities? So after different groups developing their work plan, depending on, addressing the issue or the advocacy issue they have pinned out, we are going to follow up for them, because they're going to be paired. People who are coming, let me give an example, coming from Mukono, coming from Chenjojo. We had people from Chenjojo. That's where we're going to be, because those are the program is going to run within their communities. Them to take a lead, them to moderate, them to mobilize these young people, other young people who are not able to be part of this, this fellowship, this training, for them to guide them, to explain to them better what is sexual and reproductive health, right? So Tahi will come in with support from consultancy or our consultant to help guide them how best they can, work on this, how best they can run this program. In that category. But we are giving the priority, since we are training them in leadership skills. We want them to take lead, because in this case, we want to increase their engagement and participation. So we don't want to lead everything. We train them so that they can take lead and be like, okay, well, I can speak. You can speak on behalf of the rest, on behalf of young people with disability you relate within, maybe in your community. You can take the role to advocate, to create awareness, and also for them to guide us to share learning, to share like in this, maybe where we have gone wrong, that this time around we can do better. So Tahi, we allow learning, because, we share. That's how we learn. We learn and learn and relearn. Yeah, so basically that is it. Back to you, Mika.
All right. Thank you very much, Etheza. Do you have some parting shots for our listeners before we leave the call?
Sorry?
You have some parting shots, last words to the listeners?
Maybe what I can say is that we, when it comes to disability, when it comes to person with disability, I would love maybe to tell the listeners that disability, as they always say, disability is not inability. And maybe to break it down for people who don't understand what it means to have disability. Most people take disability, the physical disability or mental, but some disabilities are visible, some are not, some are invisible. So you may look at someone and some have mental disability, and it just depends. So why am I saying that? Is that wherever there is a barrier, that is, there is a disability. If there is no barrier, there is no disability. If, for example, let me give an example to our listeners. When you look at our roads currently, you see that they are making roads, but they are leaving out the fact that where a pedestrian going to, to pass, to walk. When someone is using a wheelchair, where are they going to, like, for example, to walk or to use is it accessible? Is the road accessible for all of us? So most of the time, these things and also disability, it's like we are all candidates to disability, So instead of doing you'll be like, good thing for me, I'm not affected. Good thing for me, I'm not affected. Today it might be you because we are all candidates. You don't know what is going to happen. I'm not saying that something is going to happen, but we just have to be mindful and empathetic or sympathetic to people with disability, and also to try to understand. Sometimes you may not understand what is going on, and you'll be like, these people are like this. Sometimes you may not understand, but you're just there to just listen and try to learn and be like, what is the issue? Maybe how could I help? When it comes to, and also maybe to the listeners, and also maybe if I make a call up to the government, Ministry of Health in this issue, because since Together Life works with sexual and reproductive health rights, and when we talk about issues, young people with disability, not even this year, but even last year, they raised an issue like no sign language interpreters. They're not given priority. Those who are coming with clashes, they're also taken to be like normal people, like they stand in the same line with what the world call normal people. And these are people, like, every time they go there and they face difficulties like that, face issues like that, they're going to go away. Yet sexual and reproductive or health, they have a right to health. They have a right to access these services just like any other. But how can we make it better and accessible for them to provide sign language interpreter, accessible bed, accessible toilet, accessibility in everything? If there is accessibility and they can access everything, it means that now there is no disability. Maybe we can take it in the physical, but if they can do whatever they can do, we have seen young people with person with disability participating in sports, participating, in rallies, member for parliament, because they were equipped. There is accessible. They managed to access those services. But what about someone in Chenjojo, someone in Jinja, someone in Iganga, and maybe Fort Poto? How can they get this information? How could we make it better? Do we even have, in our academics or where we go, do we even have, even when it comes as mostly those in workplaces, you should try to train yourself like basics. You learn basics of sign language.
All right.
Sign language.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for talking to us, and of course the listeners are very happy to listen to someone who is an advocate and yes, ready to fight for the rights of people with disabilities. Thank you very much, Eseza.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting me, Mika.
All right. Of course, you have just listened to Esther all the way from Tahi, and yes, that was the call aimed at discussing about what was discussed in the workshop, the way forward, and of course the work plan. Okay, yes, we are continuing the Who is the Late Night Show.